4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Drop the boogie.
Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, you're not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is another week and a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and as always, streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in. That's 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Brian Howell, who does a great job covering the Colorado football team. He is going to join us via Buff Zone coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time. And you guys know me, if you listen to the show for now, for a long time, whether it was in the weekend overnights from the 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern time slot, or now currently in our time slot of 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. I'm an open book. There's not much that I keep from the listening audience. So when I found out earlier today that Coach Prime was going to have a press conference, and Coach Prime was going to have a press conference along with his medical staff, at least the conversation in the college football world, which, let me be abundantly clear, it was all assumptions. No one knew what they were talking about. And I say this from time to time when you assume you make an ass out of you and me, but the feel around this press conference with Coach Prime and the medical staff was very ominous. I thought we were going to start the show today with bad news about Coach Prime. I thought we were going to start the show today with a chance, or maybe even in all likelihood, when I found out about this press conference earlier this morning, that Coach Prime was either done coaching at Colorado or he was going to take the season off and then reevaluate it afterwards. And if you've been following this, we all know, right, this offseason, there's been an ambiguous health situation with Coach Prime, where he's not really been around the facility. He's not really been around the team. There's even some new recruits that have been coming on in that haven't even met Coach Prime. When I read some stuff from the beat reporters and the people that cover the team on a daily basis. And when he was at Big 12 Media Days, it seemed like he was back. He was A-okay. All was good. And then there was a video released by Coach Prime's camp and right, his son, where it was a video talking about how Coach Prime at some point this offseason, I think it was back in May, if memory serves me right for when I saw the video today, that he was talking about having to set up a will. And he had to set up a will because of the current state of his health. And we all know, right, some of the health injuries that Deion Sanders and health scares that he's been going through with his feet and the amputation of some of his toes. But this was something completely different. So, quite frankly, I walked into this press conference today assuming the worst. Now, that may sound selfish, because when I say assuming the worst, I thought this was going to be Coach Prime was walking away and Coach Prime was going to be out of college football. And I have made this abundantly clear back when Coach Prime was at Jackson State that I was all in for the college football experience of Coach Prime. And when people would have those conversations of him potentially leaving Jackson State and trying to find his next destination and trying to find out where he would really get his big-time college coaching career underway, I said Auburn should have hired him. Right? I was someone that said, forget Hugh Freeze. If I was Auburn, I would have hired Coach Prime. I want to see Coach Prime in the SEC. And we ultimately know that Coach Prime ended up winding up in Boulder, Colorado, and he took over a team that was 1 win, right? In his first year, got him to 4 wins. At one point, they were 3-0. They were the epicenter of the college football universe. And then last year, if they didn't lose that game to Kansas, that was a football team that could have been in the Big 12 championship game. That was a football team that had a chance to make the college football playoff. Those were all tangible things at the end of last season. And that Colorado program finished with 9 wins in the regular season. They were 9-3. Now, we all know that Travis Hunter's no longer there. He's in Jacksonville. We all know Shedeur Sanders somehow fell to the 5th round. He is with the Cleveland Browns. And, Shiloh Sanders, I know he's not someone that was at the forefront of the conversation, but Shiloh Sanders is now an undrafted free agent and signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So look how much progress, right? And look how much change there's been, and look at all what has happened in the last 2 years. Colorado's become a major talking point program. Colorado had a Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter. They had one of the better quarterbacks last year in the country in Shedeur Sanders. And now a huge storyline entering this college football season is, what is Coach Prime going to look like without Shedeur, without Travis, and I guess we could throw Shiloh in there too, and some other players that they lost to the NFL and that we've really grown accustomed to the last 2 years. And I said this a few weeks ago when we were talking about it. This is the biggest year of the Coach Prime era in Boulder, Colorado, because now, even though I have an abundance of respect for Coach Prime as the actual coach, not just what he did in the NFL, but now we're going to find out really how good of a coach he is in the interim when he's without his star two-way player and he's without his star quarterback, who are now both in the league. Now, all those thoughts almost went up into thin air today. I was anticipating doing a show today, reacting, and this wasn't talking to sources. This was just generating, kind of a pulse check and a vibe and a feel. And let's be real, social media is all speculation, and it feels nasty to speculate about someone's health. But when there's a video released yesterday about Coach Prime at some point this offseason having to set up a will, and we were told basically all things were good, and then, he's not back at a full percentage of health, and, we don't know what's going to happen, I was fearing for the worst today. And I understand that obviously the health of Coach Prime is paramount, but selfishly, I was not ready for this Coach Prime experiment in Boulder, Colorado to end. Because I think Coach Prime is not just good for college football. I think Coach Prime is great for college football. Right now, we have a lot of good coaches in college football, but we don't have a lot of coaches with personality, right? The major players in college football, Nick Saban, no longer coaching. Urban Meyer, no longer coaching, right? We've seen a drastic shift at the tippy top of the mountain in college football when it comes to the creme de la creme coaches, and arguably the best coach in college football right now is Kirby Smart, and he has the personality of a fish out of water, if we're just being honest. So, yes, is Coach Prime ever going to win a national championship at Colorado? No, he's not. But can Coach Prime be a contender in the Big 12? Yeah, he just showed so last year. And I understand there's a major unknown of what he's going to be without Shedeur and without Travis Hunter, but I at least wanted to see the opportunity be had. And when we had this press conference, right, this impromptu press conference where it was announced, and all right, coming up later on today, it's going to be Coach Prime and his medical staff, I was fearing that Coach Prime is going to be done coaching at Colorado. And yes, we did find out the news today in the press conference that Coach Prime had a cancerous tumor, on his bladder. Thankfully, that tumor has been removed. Thankfully, Coach Prime is now cancer-free. And Coach Prime, as he said it earlier today, we'll play some of the cuts in a bit, he's back. He's ready to go. He's ready to roll. So, yes, you hear that. And me as a college football fan, I wipe a gigantic amount of sweat off the cabeza. Now, clearly I'm elated for Coach Prime. Clearly I'm elated for his family. Clearly I'm elated for his friends. Those are the people, right, that actually know him and that are really close with him that you think of first. But as a college football fan who just so happens to have a platform and a microphone in front of me and has had Coach Prime on the show quite a few times, so I don't know him well, but I know him a little bit. So as someone that is basically just a fan with a microphone, selfishly, I'm thrilled today. Because my expectations going into that press conference once again was that this was a serious health issue that was going to prevent him from coaching maybe ever again, or it was going to prevent him from coaching this season. Now, thankfully, he's cancer-free. Thankfully, Coach Prime is going to be coaching this year. And once again, it is something that's one of the biggest questions in college football this year that is going to be a major storyline. What is Coach Prime going to be at Colorado without Shedeur and without Travis? And we're going to see this year. And it gets started with the heck of a game. Forget week 0. Week 1, we got some monster games on Saturday. You got some really good games on Sunday. But even on that Friday, Colorado opens up the football season. Georgia Tech, that's a good game. The intrigue of Coach Prime right now in year number 3, without Shedeur, who's going to start at quarterback, all that stuff, without Travis Hunter, what are they going to look like? And they're going up against Georgia Tech that has Haynes King, who is a phenomenal quarterback. Last year they beat Miami when Haynes King basically couldn't throw a football because of an injury with a shoulder injury. And they almost took down Georgia, what they lost in like 7 overtimes or whatever it was. So that's a heck of a week 1 matchup. And that's in an isolated spot, 8 p.m. Eastern on the ESPN on a Friday night on August 29th. And then afterwards, right, you have Delaware, Houston, Wyoming, BYU, TCU, Iowa State, Utah, Arizona, West Virginia, Arizona State, and Kansas State. Like, there's 2 games on that schedule. Arizona State and Georgia Tech. And I'm not saying they can't win Georgia Tech, where you go, don't like their chances in that. Now, I'm not saying all the rest of the games are going to be win, right? Because BYU is a heck of a program under Kalani Sitake. We will see what Sonny Dykes is able to do at TCU after a few years ago getting to a national championship game. Matt Campbell kind of restored my belief in him as a football coach last year at Iowa State, and Rocco Becht is a phenomenal quarterback. We don't know how many more years Kyle Whittingham has left as a head coach. Coach Brown will be the first one to tell you how much respect he has for Kyle Whittingham. West Virginia, what is Rich Rod going to be in his first year? Kansas State, Kleiman, I still think is one of the most underrated coaches in the country, and you have Avery Johnson back at quarterback. But that's kind of the state of the Big 12. Like, sure, you look at the Big 12, you'll probably have one out-of-conference game where the opponent's like, ooh, that's a tough one. For them, it's Georgia Tech. And their conference opponents, anyone could beat anybody on any given Saturday. And I know that sounds cliche, but in the Big 12, they have a lot of good teams, and you saw it last year. They had a lot of good teams, and the records didn't look that good at the end of the season because they beat up on one another. Like late in a season, Kansas ended up derailing the dreams and the aspiration of the Colorado football season. So that's the latest where we're at with Coach Prime right now. It was revealed today that he had a cancerous tumor on his bladder, and it has been removed. Surgery was successful, and that all happened this offseason, and now he's cancer-free. Let's hear from his doctor, who she did explain Coach Prime's diagnosis and then the eventual surgery.
We discussed some options of treatment in the bladder, and we discussed bladder removal as well. Given his commitments to his family and to the team, elected to undergo a bladder removal. We performed a full robot-assisted laparoscopic bladder removal and creation of a new bladder, and I am pleased to report that the results from the surgery are that he is cured from the cancer.
And then let's hear Coach Prime on his diagnosis.
I'm thankful. It's been a tremendous journey. It's been tough. I think I dropped 25 pounds. I was like a Atlanta Falcon Prime at one point.
And then also let's hear from Coach Prime. Was he worried that he wouldn't coach again?
I always knew I was going to coach again. I didn't realize I was going to coach again. I was always going to coach. It was never in my spirit, in my heart, that God wouldn't allow me to coach again.
And here's the other thing, too. With how public Prime is and how he's always in the spotlight, and, right, you have a son in Cleveland who is clearly highly publicized, and then you have a son in Tampa Bay trying to make an NFL roster, and how many people, let's be real, whether it was players, current coaches, they know what Deion Sanders, the football player, was and how much of an icon he is and how many people he's close with. I'm kind of surprised that none of this did leak out. But then I was listening to that press conference, and it was asked, like, hey, did you tell, and when did you tell Shedeur and Shiloh? Because Shedeur, a few weeks ago when he's in Cleveland, like, he would not talk about it. And he kind of gave you, a football answer, a quarterback speak, where, let's be real, maybe that's not it isn't the place for Shedeur to say what was going on with this father, but according to Coach Prime, his sons really didn't know the extent of what was going on with their dad.
My sons to this day don't know what transpired. I just told them something with my foot, again, because I wanted them to focus on making the team and not focused on dad.
And then the other thing did come up on, how much more when you're still recovering from this, even though you're cancer-free, but clearly you're still not at a full percentage of health. Will you have to rely on your staff this year?
I don't have to rely on them. I'm back, baby. I'm back. I don't rely on them no more. I'm going to be with them. The Bible says, remember the rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Okay, so we're going to comfort one another. And I love them. We have a wonderful staff, and thank God that they're good enough that I don't have to babysit. I don't have to be there every minute too, and I know they got that.
I also thought a funny part was when during the press conference, like, don't be surprised if you see some extra porta potties on the sideline, because he was talking about how much more now he has to go to the bathroom. But finally, this was Coach Prime talking about having to make a will back in May.
Mentally, emotionally, last night was tough, yesterday was tough, because I had to make a will. That's not easy at all, to think that you may not be here.
So there you go. That's the latest on Coach Prime. Clearly today we thought was a scary day. I at least thought it was a scary day. I was fearing the worst when you kind of read some things that were out there on social media and some things that you were hearing, and also that last clip that we played when talking about him having to make a will in May and how ambiguous his health situation has been, even though we just have not been hearing good things this offseason. To find out today, obviously, the seriousness of having, a tumor and having it be cancerous, right, on your bladder, and then finding out, okay, that's what we found out today, but it was also removed successfully, and now he's cancer-free. Even though the first news, it was like, oh my goodness gracious, then you hear the last part, that he's cancer-free, and that's the most important part. It is. And I know that we will make this about football, because that's what we do in the sports media landscape. But clearly you're thankful for the health being now in a good spot, and hopefully this is the last health issue for Coach Prime. And then we get to focus on football, because whether you like Coach Prime or whether you hate Coach Prime, obviously everyone wants him to be in good spirits and everyone wants him to have good health. But I'm just intrigued and fascinated by how we're talking about Coach Prime at the end of the year. And I hope that it's only about football matters, and I hope that he's able to be as full go as he can, and then you get to see what this Colorado football team can do this year, as they have to replace, obviously, not only the Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter, but also their star quarterback from the last two seasons in Shedeur Sanders. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll keep it rocking and rolling with the college football when we come on back. UNC potentially going to the SEC. Why one major college football pundit believes it's inevitable. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
I'll get to the conversation in just a second about UNC potentially down the road joining the SEC, but the Broncos and wide receiver Courtland Sutton, according to Ari Meir of My Sports Update, have agreed to terms on a 4-year contract worth $92 million per Jordan Schultz. The deal comes in at $23 million per year and locks him in for the future with Bo Nix. Now, we hear that. We don't particularly know the structure necessarily of it, how that money is divided up, not necessarily what the guarantee is. But my immediate thought process is, what does this mean for Terry McLaurin? Now, I'll get to more of that in just a second. But Terry McLaurin, he's turning this baby up. He really is. Now he is at Commander's Camp, and not only is he there, but he's holding in. And this was his exchange with the media. Now, before I play this for you, he is walking, I guess from field to field or wherever he's trying to go to. He is walking with the media following him while sort of, and you'll hear why I say sort of in a second, answering and entertaining the media. Here was Terry McLaurin earlier this morning.
Terry, how much closer are you to working out a deal?
We're just taking it day by day.
Being here in the building, though, how does that improve the dialogue?
Just taking it day by day.
Are you going to be able to practice at some point, or how far away from being healthy are you?
Just taking it day by day.
Thanks, Terry.
Appreciate it.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. But here's the part. He doesn't have to speak. He doesn't. So that is calculated by Terry McLaurin, where I think people look at that and they go, okay, he's there, but he's holding in. He's at least talking to the media, but he's taking the high road, even though he's already voiced his frustration when I guess he was at a car dealership or something like that, and he already kind of painted, himself in the right light, which I think he is here. Right? Terry McLaurin should already have a new deal done with the Washington Commanders. The guy had 13 receiving touchdowns a year ago. I understand he's not a superstar wide receiver. You could maybe make the case that there's 10 better wide receivers than him in the NFL, but the dude has produced every single year he's been with the Commanders, and now it's a different situation because he has Jaden Daniels, but in most of those years, he didn't have a good quarterback. So you look at this guy and you feel a little bit bad for him because I go, okay, if there is a guy in that organization that deserves to be paid with all the crap that he had to put up with the last few years, it is Terry McLaurin. But Terry McLaurin is a good wide receiver. I wouldn't call him a superstar wide receiver, and I wouldn't call him great. But how many times now do you see good wide receivers get paid great money? So I thought for a while, and I even talked about this the last 2 weeks, and I put this out on social media, at Zach Gelb, ZACHGLB, Twitter and Instagram. I said, if I'm mediating this entire thing, I would sit down Adam Peters, the general manager of the Washington Commanders. I would sit down Terry McLaurin. I'd say $100 million over 3 years. I thought that would be fair. $100 million over 3 years. Well, that's not going to happen now because you know it and I know it. Even though Terry McLaurin has been more reliable than Courtland Sutton, the NFL is, what have you done for me lately? That's what the league is right now. And when you look at what have you done for me lately, and also you contextualize the situation where Courtland Sutton is 29 and Terry McLaurin is 29. Like, I forget what Garrett Wilson got, but when Garrett Wilson got that contract a week or two ago, everyone was like, oh, this is good news for Terry McLaurin. No. Garrett Wilson is what, 24? So just because Garrett Wilson got a 4-year, $130 million contract, that was the number with $90 million guaranteed, does not mean Terry McLaurin's going to get that number. When you're 29 and you're a good but not great player, I thought $100 million over 3 years would have been justified and would have been good. Well, that's not going to be the case, folks. Because when you take a glance at Terry McLaurin, today he got the news that Courtland Sutton got a 4-year deal for $92 million. And Terry McLaurin could sit there and say, well, in my career, I have 6,379 receiving yards, and Courtland Sutton only has 5,340, and Courtland Sutton may have 379 catches in his career. I have 460. None of that stuff matters. Because you want to know what the NFL teams are going to do? You want to know what the Commanders are going to do? Hey, Terry, you're being unreasonable. I'm not saying he's being unreasonable, but these are the conversations. If they have any conversations, if they get reignited today, this is going to be Adam Peters. Terry, you're being unreasonable right now. Like, you look at it, this guy, Courtland Sutton, who is the same age as you, last year had 81 receptions, last year had 1,081 yards, last year had 8 touchdowns. That's what he had. Your numbers are 82 receptions, 1,096 yards, and 13 touchdowns. So sure, you had more touchdowns. But all things considered, your numbers are pretty damn similar. And Terry McLaurin could say, well, I've had 5 straight seasons of 1,000-yard receiving, and Courtland Sutton, right, his best career mark since the one that he had this year was back in 2019. Like, you could tell, they don't care. This is what have you done for me lately? How many times did Bill Belichick cut a player and everyone was like, how are you cutting this really good player? Because Bill operated under the philosophy, you don't pay for what people have done. You pay for what people will do in the future. Or it's better to get rid of a player 2 years too early rather than 2 years too late. So I think Terry McLaurin today, because of the Courtland Sutton deal, and let me be abundantly clear, Terry McLaurin's better than Courtland Sutton. But when you look at the numbers, they're eerily similar. And you see whatever you wanted, Terry McLaurin, well, now the framework that you have to work around, and maybe you get a little bit more than Courtland Sutton, but it's 4 years and $92 million. So that's where we're at right now when it comes to the latest on the Terry McLaurin situation and this Courtland Sutton situation where he just got that extension, 4 years, $92 million, does play into a factor here. And also, not only the stats, who did Courtland Sutton, who's 29, and Terry McLaurin, also 29, who did they both play with last year? A rookie quarterback. One was Bo Nix, and then one was Jaden Daniels as well. So the situations are very similar, and I think it does provide somewhat of a tangible framework where Garrett Wilson was never going to do that because of the age difference, but that kind of gives them really something to work around. Okay, this is someone similar stats, similar age. He got 4 years, $92 million. Now, what are you going to get? Let me transition this conversation to something totally different. This was Paul Feinbaum on McElroy and Kublik on Jocks FM. They do a great job, Greg McElroy and Cole Kublik. And this is Paul Feinbaum on the possibility of UNC going to the SEC one day.
It sounds very much to me like people close to North Carolina are floating this out there, probably frustrated with their current position, even though the ACC is now singing Kumbaya. We all know that there are a lot of anxious schools in there. So I've said all that as a preamble, Cole, to say that I think ultimately it's going to happen. But I think once we get to this next iteration, North Carolina has always been the number one choice of many people in SEC circles. I think the bigger question is when exactly does it happen? And secondly, who would their drafting partner be?
You know, this was something I talked about 2-3 years ago when we found out that Texas, right, and Oklahoma were leaving the Big 12 to go to the SEC. We also found out that USC within the last 2-3 years and UCLA, they were leaving the Pac-12. Those four schools really started the mass exodus from what we knew of the Big 12 and what the Pac-12 used to be. And then basically the Pac-12 folded, even though they're going to be coming back with the new rendition of the Pac-12 next year, but it's never going to be considered a Power 5 conference again. We have now truncated the Power 5 into the Power 4 or the Core 4 conferences. But I always used to talk about this, and I thought it was one of the greatest misnomers that we had as college sports fans, that the SEC and the Big Ten were just going to try to take as many schools as possible. And the reason why I never thought that was the case was because it's not as if the networks are going to keep on saying, oh, we'll keep on upping the payouts. And I'm just like throwing a number. Like, let's say every school gets $40 million a year. I'm just throwing a number. It's not as if, okay, you go add 3 more schools now in the next 3 years that they're just going to say, okay, all those schools keep on getting $40 million. They're going to say, here's your total sum. You divide it up with your schools. So how many other brands end up becoming more attractive? And when we used to do this, it was kind of tough to get to 5 schools. Like, obviously, the golden goose is Notre Dame, and we're going to do this conversation now. The attractive brands that aren't in the SEC, that aren't in the Big Ten, and obviously Notre Dame is still an independent. Notre Dame is everybody's number one. But I'm surprised there a little bit. Paul Feinbaum, who, whether you like him or not, he is as connected as anybody in the SEC. He's kind of the media face of the SEC, at least in college football. How Feinbaum said their number one, and a lot of people that he talked to for the SEC was UNC. Now, don't get me wrong. UNC has had a legendary basketball program. And the SEC basketball has been unbelievable the last few years. But usually these moves are motivated based off football. And when it comes to football, UNC has not been anywhere close to being a major player in college football. Now, you do have South Carolina in the SEC. So maybe you wanted North Carolina. And we've seen before, right, the SEC and the Big Ten take on schools where you're like, that doesn't really make sense. right? Not as Vanderbilt, even if Diego Pavia may agree, has been a major player in the SEC. Why are they there? Because of the market. You look at Rutgers. Why are they in the Big Ten? It's not to go win football games, I'll tell you that, folks. It's because they wanted that New Jersey, New York, Northeast market in the Big Ten. So maybe that North Carolina region and, the possibility, depending on seeing what Bill is doing here, and even Mac Brown has made it clear, Bill's getting more money to build his football team than he ever got money, to go build, his football team at UNC. Maybe that's a sleeping giant. But I am surprised in the wording of it of Feinbaum, where UNC has been, right, one of those teams that aren't in the SEC or the Big Ten that we've talked about. But number one, that's the most coveted by the SEC. Now, I've always thought Notre Dame would be more of a fit in the Big Ten, and Notre Dame's going to hold out their independence, and Marcus Freeman has talked about this, as long as they can until it goes against them. But I'm a little bit surprised and taken back that UNC was the number one, and Feinbaum made this seem inevitable. So my brand, obviously, if you're not in the Big Ten of the SEC, who the Big Ten of the SEC would want and who I think would be the most attractive brand, it would still be Notre Dame. Stu, who's yours?
My brand is Clemson. Now, this would obviously be mostly football. They don't really have much of a basketball, history, if you will, at least of late. But I think they've won the multiple national championships. Even though they've had some down years, especially with the portal and Dabo not embracing the portal, they're still up there in recruiting classes. And I think they're going to be in a position in the ACC where, as long as the ACC still exists, they're going to be the favorite pretty much every single year. I think they would be kind of a great fit for the SEC in that regard eventually when they have to make that move.
Samter, who's yours?
I'm going to go with, I was looking at which program is going to help financially the best, not just the best program.
Sure.
But this is a historic program, and the best program outside of the Big Ten or SEC as far as revenue is Florida State.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
They're above Clemson. Clemson is slightly above Miami.
Fans are going to be on line one. What about us? What about the U?
Well, according to The Athletic, Miami is third in the ACC, bringing about $75.5 million in revenue, whereas Florida State brings in $86.7. So you got the history, you've got the recruiting there in Florida, and then you also just have the revenue of Florida State. So it just makes sense there.
And if we're being honest, Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, UNC, and then I'll throw Duke in there because of what they've done in a basketball context. May even be better if Duke just then goes to the Big East, if we're being serious. And Duke could have a good football team this year. But I don't usually give them compliments for their football team because that rat Manny Diaz is coaching the team. But outside of those 6 brands, if you're not in the Big Ten of the SEC right now, you're SOL. And then the big question becomes, what is this going to look like 5-10 years from now? Because the Big Ten and the SEC are the haves and everyone else is the have-nots. And I've thought for years that the ACC and the Big 12 is going to eventually merge together, and then it's really going to be the haves and the have-nots. At least right now, the Big 12 and the ACC are still able to function and still function at a high level. And then the question does become for, like how Stu said, for a Clemson. We know Florida State would go tomorrow if they could. But for a Clemson, would you rather just dominate whatever that revised version of the ACC and Big 12 is, or would you rather just go and get the money and the more money and go right into SEC land or Big Ten land? It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, what's going on with the Manual Class A? Also, Rob Manfred and Bryce Harper. They are, I guess, throwing it down. And something that I saw happen at Yankee Stadium over the weekend, Yankees and Phillies. Not the video that you've been seeing, Stu, you dirty mind. Stu's laughing right now. But I saw something else between a couple this weekend at Yankee Stadium, and I just have to report back to everyone and get everyone's opinions on it. So we'll get to all that when the Zach Gelb Show continues after Axe Update.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance, who protects small businesses with affordable coverage options. Quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Deion Sanders' recent health scare was a significant one. The Hall of Famer had bladder cancer. The 57-year-old discovered the tumor during a routine test. He underwent surgery to have his bladder removed, and his doctor, Jackie Kukara, said he is now cancer-free.
We performed a full robot-assisted laparoscopic bladder removal and creation of a new bladder. and I am pleased to report that the results from the surgery are that he is cured from the cancer.
The Broncos have given receiver Courtland Sutton a 4-year extension worth a total of $92 million. Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase is on unpaid leave through the end of August. He's the second Guardians pitcher to be under investigation by Major League Baseball for gambling. A salary cap might be on the horizon for baseball, and the players are certainly not for it. Rob Manfred and the Phillies' Bryce Harper got into a heated, expletive-filled exchange when the commissioner visited the Phillies clubhouse. Harper told him to leave, and that's putting it nicely. If he wanted to talk about the salary cap, the meeting did continue with both in attendance. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
It's time to ask the pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INFSportsNet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Whenever Jeff Passan, who, even though I'm not a fan of his, because he's very, very sensitive, whenever he tweets something, I don't see it because I'm blocked by Jeff Passan. Now, I know Twitter now has a different way about when you're blocked by someone. Like, you still can't follow them, but you can at least see their tweets now. So I will eventually see the retweets if enough people are talking about this. I will say, though, even though I'm not a big fan of Jeff Passan, and, like, if we could be real here, Jeff, you should unblock me on Twitter. Because all I did was I tweeted at our former colleague in Craig Carden when Jeff and Craig, I guess, were throwing some jabs at one another. And Jeff Passan, he had some tweet that, there's no way that Lindor and the Mets are going to get a contract extension done, or it's not looking likely. And then literally 10 minutes later, the Mets had a contract extension with Francisco Lindor a few years ago. So all I did in an innocuous way was I screenshotted that Passan tweet, and I tweeted Craig, and I said, your boy Jeff Passan, right on top of things. And then I found out that several weeks later that he blocked me when there was some baseball news, and I figured out I was blocked from one Jeff Passan. But today, he had a story where Rob Manfred, I guess, goes from clubhouse to clubhouse once a year in the Major League Baseball season to kind of hold a chat with all the players in the organization to kind of ease the labor negotiations between the players, right, and Major League Baseball. And it does feel at this point that we're probably going to have a strike where the CBA expires in December of 2026. So even though Manfred did not specifically say salary cap, he was alluding to maybe having a salary cap in Major League Baseball. And Bryce Harper, when he was in the Phillies locker room, stood up and told him, get the bleep, and if you want to know what the bleep was, it rhymes with pluck, out of our clubhouse. If, Rob, you want to talk about maybe implementing a salary cap. And then the back and forth, basically to quickly summarize this, was Manfred said, well, I'm not going anywhere. I think it's healthy for us to have conversations. And then Nick Castellanos tried to ease the tension. And he didn't try to ease the tension by hitting a home run to left field. But Nick Castellanos basically tried to ask some other questions that were maybe pertaining to some player reviews. And then according to Jeff Passan, who blocked me on Twitter, but he did a good job on this story, and he is the preeminent baseball reporter these days, Harper and Rob Manfred did shake hands afterwards. But then when Rob Manfred tried to contact Bryce Harper the other day, he was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to talk to you. So that's the latest with Bryce Harper. Now, I guess a lot of folks in Cleveland, they're upset with me now because Ken Carman does a great job on the Fan in Cleveland in the mornings with Anthony Lima. I tweeted out, boss move by Bryce Harper. I would love to see the video of Rob Manfred and when Bryce told him he could get the F out of the clubhouse if he was going to talk about a potential salary cap. Now, Ken Carman responded to that. He goes, not really for about 26 other fan bases, talking about the small markets where their owners just don't spend. So then all like the folks in Cleveland, and I usually like Cleveland. I sing, "Here we go, Brownies, here we go." And, "Here we go again. It's the Cleveland Browns and it's 1st and 10. Right? I'm usually pro Cleveland. But in this case, right, my team is starting to spend big bucks. Right? We're not with the Wilpons anymore. We're with Steve Cohen, spend, Stevie spend. So I'm not really for a salary cap. And if you don't like it, I usually defend the smaller markets, but this is going to be the one time that I don't. Because I also remember a time where these owners in smaller markets were basically crying poverty when we had a pandemic and they were spitting in our faces, delaying baseball's return when we needed something to entertain us. So I am not pro-owner when it comes to Major League Baseball. With that being said, though, I will say for every fan base, right, that is coming at me for wanting a salary cap, well, would your owner, not you the fan, but would your owner be okay if we had a floor? If we implemented a salary floor, the minimum that they could spend? Because I guarantee you, a lot of those owners who aren't even trying to spend anything would be like, "Oh, I don't want a minimum." So if you're going to make the players say, "Oh, we want a salary cap," then there should be a fair minimum too, if there's going to be a range. So this is going to get ugly, and this is unfortunately going to probably lead to a strike in Major League Baseball. But I do like Rob Manfred being basically told to get the bleep out of one of his locker rooms when he's the commissioner of Major League Baseball. Now you have this other thing going on with Emmanuel Clase, who is now going to be suspended. And this all goes back to this gambling situation that's going on in Major League Baseball. I sounded really old when I said that. This is also from Jeff Passan. It's always funny when I click on his tweets and then I have to click something else to see them. Cleveland Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase has been placed on a non-disciplinary paid leave as part of Major League Baseball's sport betting investigation, sources tell ESPN. Clase is the Guardians pitcher, a second Guardians pitcher on leave, tied to the investigation, joining right-hander Luis Ortiz. I'll just ask a simple question. Am I ever surprised when players are involved in gambling investigations? No. With that being said, though, and this is not going to turn into, well, if we could bet and all the leagues are getting involved in gambling, why can't the players? Right? There's some things at my job that I would like to be able to do. Like, I would have no issue if I was able to curse on the air, right? I would like to curse sometimes on the air. I don't think it's needed to be done every day, but my bosses tell me I can't because of the FCC. Now, could I go into a street and say, "Hey, Stu, bleep you"? Yeah, I could. If I do it on the radio, though, my bosses would punish me. Now, there are some shows that do curse and they get away with it, but those are the rules. So, Psych Manter, let's just say, could go on the street and say, "Hey, bleep off." But in my work, I can't say bleep off because I'm not allowed to say some words on the radio. But the only thing I'll just bring up here in this regard, don't you find it interesting that Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, Ipe Mizuhara, had this whole gambling thing, and the MLB comes out right away. It's like, Ohtani's got no involvement. 2 days, no involvement. But we have no clue for about a month? This Luis Ortiz situation happened, and I doubt we're going to find out what happens ever again with Emmanuel Clase for a while. I just find that interesting. It just makes you wonder a little bit. I'm not saying Ohtani was betting, but his close friend and his interpreter was taking money out of his account. Ohtani had no involvement. But now we have Emmanuel Clase and also Luis Ortiz, right, getting basically suspended from Major League Baseball. And who knows when we're going to find out the closure and the end game here. I just think it's interesting, Larry David style. Coming on back, it is the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Brian Howell, who does a great job covering the Colorado football team, he's going to join us an hour from now. We'll talk about Coach Prime with him, as we did get the news today that Coach Prime this offseason did have a cancerous tumor on his bladder. It has successfully been removed, and he is now cancer-free. So we will preview the Colorado football season and talk about the health of Coach Prime with Brian Howell. But also on a college football-related note, as it pertains to this radio extravaganza, Kevin Jennings, who is the quarterback at SMU, he is going to join us tomorrow live on the show at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time as we preview the Mustang season. And then later on in the program at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be joined by the head football coach at Alabama, in Kalen DeBoer. So we will talk to Kalen DeBoer at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time live on the program tomorrow. Kevin Jennings of SMU live on the radio show tomorrow at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time as well. You could always tune in on one of your great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, SiriusXM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and yes, the last week and a half, 2 weeks, we have been back up and running on YouTube. And it has come to my attention that the great Psych Mamter, not Michael Samter, there is a Twitter account by the name of Moist Mike and a guy that goes by Psych Mamter. He is also in the YouTube chat as Psych Mamter. This was the same Psych Mamter that sent me a bottle of ranch. Yuck, by the way. Blue cheese always on wings. But Psych Mamter sent me a bottle of ranch. Well, we also got another present from Psych Mamter. And he sent it to Michael Samter. And Michael Samter got the gift from Psych Mamter. Oh, my God, say that 10 times fast. And I saw the gift that Psych Mamter sent to Michael Samter as a thank you for getting us back up and running onto YouTube. And we will show you that gift on Wednesday during the Hickey Hex when Ryan Hickey joins us live in person in studio at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Psych Mamter sent us a very, very, very nice gift. Now, it's up to a few people here. Stu, you've seen the gift. Shut your mouth. Samter, you obviously got the gift. Shut your mouth. Brendan, our intern, Brandon, shut your mouth. All right?
It's his last day, so it's easy to shut him up.
Well, here's the thing. Last day, he could be trying to go out with a bang. He'd go ruin the surprise in the hallways. He could in the hallway. Now,
he wants a good recommendation. He better keep that mouth shut.
You should give him a good recommendation. This kid's working his tail off before the show.
I agree, but he can blow it all in one fell swoop. So
yes.
He knows the drill.
We'll get to Happy Gilmore, too, by the way, coming up later.
It's those Hofstra kids you can't trust.
Yeah, they have a great football team, by the way. A great football team.
Almost as good as my BU Terrier football team.
They're all undefeated. They do a heck of a job. Unbelievable. But then also, Psych Mamter can't mess it up either. Because Psych Mamter, I'm just going on a limb here. I like Psych Mamter, even though I don't know him. But I just like his Twitter persona and his YouTube persona. Would it surprise me if he's a little bit of a blabbermouth? That would not shock me. So Psych Mamter can't tell Hickey about the gift that was sent to us. And that's the only thing I'll say. And then Psych Mamter, when he tells the other listeners, because the listenership community is very tight, they're close-knit, it's awesome. When I met Moist Pork in person, he's like, oh, we have this group chat. Let me send a picture of you and I together in the group chat. So it's awesome when you have a national radio community that comes together and, right, they talk together and they have fun and they listen to all the shows. I think it's wonderful. But let's not ruin this surprise. Because this gift that was sent to us that we will show to Hickey, and he has to do at the expense of Hickey. That's the last thing I'll say. Coming up at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. That needs to be kept a secret. All right? Like, no one could then tell Hickey what it is, and we got to, everyone keep their mouth shut.
The one thing I will say is Psych Mamter did tweet at me, hey, I sent you a gift.
Yes.
But that was all he wrote in the tweet.
Yes.
He didn't say, here's what I sent you. He didn't show a picture of what the gift was. He just said, hey, I sent you a gift. So he's been very under the radar about it. So I don't think he's going to be one of the guys who's going to blab.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because some people would say, Zach, you're trying to keep this a secret. Why are you blabbing about it right now on the radio? because I saw that tweet right when I came back from the break. So as the leader of the 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time slot right here, I just want to set forward my expectations. I just want to make my expectations crystal clear.
You're doing a great job of teasing this forward. Now people are wondering, what the heck is this gift?
Yeah, I just think everyone now just has to pretend like what they just heard didn't happen. Forget about it on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, you tune in at 3:40 p.m. Eastern time. And I will give you this disclaimer. If we could execute this the correct way, and we could show you this gift the correct way, I think it has potential for a very funny show moment. That's all I will say. So basically, this is me passing the baton back to Samter. And you're going to have to come up with a way for me to show this to Hickey, where also if you're listening on the YouTube, people, when they tune into the YouTube, can actually see said gift.
And those of you who are watching on YouTube or listening around the world, feel free to bring your guesses in. I'm curious to see what kind of gift you all think. Yeah, your guesses. What I'm curious
like,
to see
they're plus ones? What are you talking about?
No, not your guests.
I'm like, and who says
guesses.
the guest this is?
I'm curious to see what other people think we are hiding and what we are going to be unveiling on Wednesday with Mr. Hickey.
Let me ask you a question, Samter. And I think this is a pretty obvious answer. You ever taken a lovely lady to a sporting event? Like a game?
No idea what you're talking about.
Have
Yes,
you-
of course.
You have?
Of course.
Stu, have you ever taken a lovely lady to a game?
Absolutely.
Right? When you were at the game with said lovely lady, and let's just say you guys aren't just there as friends, and, you know, whether it's friends with benefits, or it's your significant other, or it's a girl that you're going on a date with, even if she was drop dead gorgeous, have you ever got the urge to maybe do something sexually inside the ballpark? Has that ever come across your desk, Stu? You know, you're sitting there, you're watching the Mets and the Yankees, and then all of a sudden there's like a sexual urge when you're sitting next to your girlfriend.
I don't think that's ever happened to me now.
Okay. Samter?
Maybe.
Samter was selling hot dogs back in the day as a vendor. All right, not when you were a vendor. when you were there in the stadium, let's say you bring your lovely bride to the game, and, right, everyone could say, oh, your wife's gorgeous, blah, 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 blah. But when you're sitting there at the game, even if she's like, oh, putting her hand on your leg, you know, even if she's giving you a few pecks on the cheek, has there ever been a desire, a strong desire, whether it's going to a bathroom and doing something, or then maybe doing something in the seats? Yes or no?
I mean, desire-wise, there's a desire everywhere and anywhere. Like on a
Why
bus.
is this like going to the dentist?
I'm just saying the
Have you
desire
ever
is
done
always
any
there.
damn thing in the stadium other than a little
The desire is always
Coldplay,
there. If you're gonna ask
Jumbotron
about
smooch.
If you're going to ask about the desire, of course there's always the desire. The desire is everywhere, all the time.
Okay.
However, have I ever
same for
actually
sexual
done something
tension.
like that? No.
Okay. I think most sane people would be able to keep it in their pants until they get home. Like when I see these videos of people going to the bathroom, I'm like, first off, having the bam chicka wamp wamp time in a bathroom, especially a men's bathroom, where every drunk slob is walking in there, urinating on the seat. God knows what they're dropping in that toilet. That is a disgusting, and I mean a disgusting place to get it on in a ballpark men's bathroom. And I've seen those videos through the years, right? There's like a video that goes viral every year of a guy and a gal, they walk into the men's bathroom, and then they're getting applauded as the security is escorting them out of the stadium for the deed that they did in said bathroom. But what I saw transpire, this is on social media, and then I will get to what I witnessed at Yankee Stadium. But I saw on social media, I think it was yesterday on Sunday, Yankees are playing the Phillies. There is a Philly fan, right, in a Phillies hat, I believe it was, or Phillies jersey, in the upper deck, sitting next to his lady. I'm assuming it's his lady. And I think she was a Yankee fan. And they're doing a little finger game. That's the only way I could say it on the radio. There is some finger acts going on. And I'm not talking about chicken fingers, all right? There's a little of the male rubbing the female in a certain area, in the seats, in the open, and they're not in the last row of the stadium. They were like in the third or fourth row of the upper deck in daylight. Can I ask a question here? Because I have looked at this video. The couple that's in front of them, how locked into the game are they that they didn't realize what was going on? Because it looks like said lady, when said act is getting done, is enjoying herself. And I would imagine there would be some noises that would be going on if the act was as enjoyable as they were making it out to be in this video, judging by her expressions. Like, what is wrong with people? You go to a stadium, the Zach Gelb Show, we condone those acts in the bedroom. We do not condone those acts in the stadium, in the seats, in the open. If you need to get freaky with it, hey, babe, we're leaving. I'm calling an Uber. We're taking the subway. Screw this baseball game. I'm going home. That's when it needs to happen. Not right in the open. And I thought maybe it was AI generated. That's what I thought. But it was not. Now, to what I saw at the stadium, because I was at Yankee Stadium on Saturday, Yankees and Phillies. I saw a couple. They were 3-4 seats away from where I was sitting. Middle of the inning, little commotion. I turned my head. Guy got down on one knee and proposed to his girlfriend. Now, nice little moment in the section, right? Everyone is a kind human being. They're sitting there and they're like, yeah, congratulations. If I'm just being honest and I'm paid to give you my honest opinion, and by the way, Stu, 2 minutes after she said yes, you want to know what I heard? Fire Boone! Yeah, how romantic is that? You're sitting there, you drop down on one knee. Will you marry me? The girl is bawling, right? She's crying her eyes out. And then you got someone saying, Yankees suck, Fire Boone! Like, what are we doing? But Stu, you've had a long-term girlfriend. You know, we just saw Hickey get engaged. You know, I'm sure the engagement question has come up with you and your girlfriend. And your girlfriend, you guys love going to sporting events together, right?
We do.
Would you ever get engaged to your girlfriend at a sporting event?
Absolutely not.
Right.
It is well, maybe not the last place, but it's one of the last places I would consider that.
Now, I know I'm not Dr. Riz, all right? You know, I'm pretty good, but I'm not Dr. Riz. This couple, they looked ecstatic. And I hate to be like Mike Francesa, but folks, you know, I had good seats. So I'm assuming that this guy went all out, got the good seats. It was before the Yankees started getting smacked. They're only down by a few runs. I think they eventually allowed like 6 or 7 runs or 5 runs in the inning. Imagine if we did it afterwards. It'd be a little bit of a mood killer. But ballpark engagements, football stadium engagements, hockey engagements, if I'm just being honest, I'm not a big fan of them. I don't think the environment is right. And also, there's a lot of drunks around you at this game. So you get down on one knee and you could be proposing, something bad happens on the field and it's like, oh, fire Aaron Boone. As you're saying, hey, honey, will you marry me? So I'm not a big fan of the ballpark engagements. Samter?
Have I ever told the story to you?
You got engaged at a ballpark?
No.
Oh, that would have been so funny after we just trashed it.
Oh, my God. No, absolutely not. That's like the one thing I would never, ever actually do. However, I may or may not have told you this story before. I dated a girl years ago who got engaged at a Cubs game, but she proposed to him on the big board.
I vaguely remember this.
At Wrigley Field.
Wait. She proposed to him.
She proposed to him.
Okay.
She asked me about it before she was going to do it.
Now, time out.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you continue here.
Yeah.
But maybe this is just me being normal. Usually, right? 9.9 times out of 10, the guy proposes to the girl. I have never, ever met someone where the girl has proposed to the guy. But do whatever you want to do if you're in love, except getting engaged at a ballpark. But think about it. That man is getting proposed to by his girl. Do you know how long they were dating, by any chance?
So they had dated for a few years, then broke up, then we dated, then they dated again. So I feel like in total, it was probably like 5 or 6 years they were together.
Okay. I would never allow a girl to propose to me because I think that's my job to do. And if people think this sounds sexist, tough luck. It's just the way that I'm thinking about this. That girl went to a baseball game with her mans and decided to embarrass him in front of everybody in the stadium because any sane man is at a sporting event and they see it's on the big screen, right? And did she drop down on one knee and give the ring?
She did.
And let's be real, there's a lot of drunks at these games. So those drunks are going to have no hey, what's going on over here? She's proposed. What? Like, imagine telling this story to Joe Beningo.
And the craziest part was, so she came, so we remained friends after we broke up, and she got back together with him.
I would feel embarrassed for him.
So she came to me. She asked me, "What do you think of this idea?" And
what did you say?
I told her it is the worst thing. I said, "Sporting event, awful. You doing it for him is even worse." She did not heed my advice. She did it. Turns out, the dude loved it. The dude was so ecstatic.
Huh?
He apparently is a huge Cubs fan, and it was always his dream to get engaged at a Cubs game.
Cubs,
and
no.
when she did it for him, rather than being embarrassed, it was like the best day of his life. I guess she knew her fiance or boyfriend that he was going to like it, but man, oh man, that's crazy.
Let's try to relate to this. Stu, your girlfriend, right, has a sister that has a long-term boyfriend?
That's correct, yes.
Let's say said sister proposed to long-term boyfriend at, I don't know, a Yankee-Phillies game. She proposed to him and put it on the big screen like Santa's friend. Let's just say, right, you get the FaceTime from your soon-to-be sister-in-law.
Sure.
Right? And then your soon-to-be brother-in-law. And they're like, they're like, hey, we got big news for you. We're engaged. Your immediate reaction will be congratulations. And then you're live on this FaceTime. And what's the next question? Oh, well, how did it go down? And your sister, your girlfriend's sister says, oh, well, I brought him to the Mets-Phillies game. We had really good seats. We were 10 rows off the field. And the big screen came up. And you're expecting, oh, he got down on one knee, romantic moment, all right, blah, blah, blah. And I paid for a message on the big screen, and then I got down on one knee and said, Johnny Cakes, will you marry me? What would your reaction be to that?
I don't think I'd believe it. Honestly, I don't think I'd believe it.
Like, you'd have to put on the face of, oh, congratulations. And then the minute that phone is hanged up, you would turn to your girlfriend and be like, wait, did I hear this right? Stu. It's a weekend. Who knows what Stu's doing on the weekends? Who knows what state of mind he's in? But did I hear this right? Did your sister say that she proposed to him at a baseball game? That conversation would probably happen at one point.
100%.
Oh my God. So you know what? I guess seeing a guy propose to a girl at a baseball game, even though I'm not a fan of it, is not that crazy. When Sandra then tells me the girl proposed to the guy, and then the guy thought it was wonderful. I'd be embarrassed. And they're still happily married? They have a whole family and all that?
We have not been in touch for a few years, so I don't know anymore. After she told me that, I was a little bit freaked out, I think.
Oh, gotcha. Because she asked you for your advice, and you gave her the advice, and she just totally didn't listen to you.
Well, more because I figured any guy who's going to like that much, right? Even if she said that he did it for her and she loved it, I would have found that weird. But for the situation to arise the way it did, I just felt like there's something going on with this relationship that I don't know if I want to stay friends with them.
Now, Anthony in Myrtle Beach is on the line. He is claimed to have some sexual relations at Shea Stadium. That is what is said on my screen. Ant, go ahead.
What's happening, gentlemen?
Doing great.
Long story short, dated this girl. She moved to Long Island. We kept in contact. We went down for Sunday home tickets. She came out and met us. 8th inning. She said, take me for a walk to the bathroom. I don't trust them. I said, all right. I was being nice. No big deal.
You're being a gentleman. You take her to the bathroom so someone just doesn't do anything crazy to you, girl. I get it.
That's right. And then, one thing led to another, and I got a little mouth hug in the bathroom. For me, it was great because it's Shea Stadium. I mean, the place closed down, next year. So that place will forever be in my heart.
So you closed down the stadium, Anthony. That's why they closed down the stadium. It wasn't for Citi Field. It was because you decided to go to third base in the bathroom, is what you're telling me.
Hey, is everything okay, Poppy? You need breadsticks?
Anthony, I appreciate that. Okay. Once again, folks, I think here's the hot take of the day. If I heard that story correctly, I think the act that he got was very enjoyable. In a bathroom, in a dirty bathroom at Shea Stadium, where I used to say Shea Stadium is a dump, but it's our dump. You couldn't have waited to maybe, I don't know, take the LIRR home, and then you get into the comfort and the confines of your own home, and then you wait to do that? You need to do that in the bathroom at Shea Stadium? With what, the peanuts and the Cracker Jacks and the beer and the urine all on the floor? Whew, let me tell you, what a winner. Anthony did hang up. I had a follow-up question, though. Did you end up getting married to that girl? Was that, hey, fun story? Let's take it to the next level, or was that fun story, yeah, you're now out of it. You're not marriage material.
Can you imagine being the person waiting in line in the stall next? Do you go in afterwards? Or you just say, nope, I'm out?
I can't say what I want to say because we've been tiptoeing the line here.
I think we've kind of not crossed it, but we've done more than tiptoe it.
If Pete the Body Bilotti was on this board, this whole segment would be dumb. And no, I'm not talking about what the guy did in the bathroom that followed the other couple that was in the bathroom, all right? What he did in that toilet afterwards. But yeah, this whole segment would be dumped. All righty. I'll tell you this. It's segments like these where I sometimes think to myself, my family listens to this show. Like, I think about moments like this where I go, oh, yeah, I got family that's listening to this show. And I'm seeing a lot of that family for dinner tonight. And usually when they always listen to the show, but when they see me, they really listen to the show. So I can't wait until I'm like eating a piece of garlic bread tonight and they bring up the 422 conversation from the show today on the Zach Gelb Show, the Infinity Sports Network. So we'll take a break. When we come on back, oh boy, what a transition this is. I don't know what Christian Wilkins has been up to lately. Well, we'll give you some answers when we come on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
So on Thursday, we were wrapping up my work week because I rarely work Fridays in the summer. And I said to Stu, something's going on with this Christian Wilkins situation with the Raiders, where I guess they were having, this is what we knew at the time, they were having a fight over if he needed a second surgery or not. And for what I gather, the team wanted him to get a second surgery. He did not. And there ended up being a big fight over this. And I said to him, to Stu, that this is starting to resemble kind of an Albert Hainsworth situation. So the show ends that Thursday. I forget what I was doing, but I ended up getting a alert right on social media, like breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders are releasing Christian Wilkins, who he was there for one season, Stu?
One season, played 5 games.
Yeah, and he got a massive contract. And you were going into the season, right, looking at the Raiders. We're sure they still have Geno Smith. Sure they still have Ashton Genty. Sure they have Brock Bowers. You still got Max Crosby. Like, they got some star presence there. Is Geno Smith a superstar quarterback? No. He's like an average NFL quarterback. Ashton Genty, potential stud. Brock Bowers, a stud. Max Crosby, a stud. And then you were hoping that Christian Wilkins would be healthy, and you would get to see that explosive, dynamic 1-2 punch between Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. So Christian Wilkins gets released, and everyone's trying to figure out, okay, what's actually going on here? And that guy Incarcerated Bob, who has had some news through the years, he said that he heard that this wasn't just a contractual dispute, that Incarcerated Bob alleged that Christian Wilkins was tickling the toes, tickling the feet of one of his teammates, and that teammate felt uncomfortable. Then Josina Anderson said Christian Wilkins reportedly had an incident with the teammate that led to his release by the Raiders. So there's still a lot of ambiguity. Jonathan Feliciano, who's played in the NFL, right, and knows Christian Wilkins, he tweeted out, "Brother has always been a little freaky." So I'm trying to figure out what happened here. But still, like, no offense to Incarcerated Bob, no offense to Josina Anderson, no offense to some of these other NFL reporters or people on social media that are trying to create news. There's a different level when Ian Rappaport tweets something, or Adam Schefter, or Jay Glazer tweets something. So I'm waiting to see what this news is. And instead of actually telling you what the news is, this is where I found it. I was watching the Pat McAfee show today. I had the Pat McAfee show in the background because I was thinking that ESPN was going to cut to the Coach Prime press conference at 1 p.m. Eastern. So as I thought they were going to cut to it, they eventually didn't. And then I said, okay, I'm going to come into the studio and then I'll just get all the information when I get here. Adam Schefter is on, and the Christian Wilkins incident came up. What could it be? And this is what Schefty shared on the Pat McAfee show.
When you speak to people there inside the locker room, they say that Christian playfully went to kiss a teammate on top of his head, and those same people said that that player took offense to it. So that's what everybody's been dancing around and tap dancing around, an incident in the locker room, and that's what a lot of this talk and speculation is about.
So, according to Adam Schefter, allegedly, Christian Wilkins had a playful smooch on the cabeza of a teammate. Now, there are videos. The internet does their thing. And you may recall when Christian Wilkins was at Clemson playing Ohio State, a player was down from Ohio State on the field, and he went over and we've been talking about sticking your fingers in places a lot this hour, but he put his fingers in an area, let's just say, where they should not have been. Josh Allen once got tackled. This was Dolphins and Bills, and we already covered the backside, right, to try to not get too graphic here, of that Ohio State player. Well, supposedly there was a pile-up, and Christian Wilkins grabbed the front side of Josh Allen, a place where his fingers should not be. And now we get this report from Incarcerated Bob that Christian Wilkins was going a little Rex Ryan-like, and he was tickling those footsies. Well, no, Schefter says that's not the case. Schefter said he kissed a teammate on the head. So, only the Raiders, folks. Big offseason acquisition from a year ago. The guy plays 5 games, and then what transpires? There's a dispute over the surgery. He got one surgery. The team thinks he needs another. And then you take a glance at Christian Wilkins, and he's saying, I don't need another surgery. And they're looking for a reason because of that dispute. Let's be real. The team is looking for a reason because of that dispute to try to void the guarantees. That's what they're trying to do, and cancel out the guarantees so they could just release him. And then this turns into a big NFL PA entire litigious situation. But the fact is, the reason he got released isn't really because, he tickled some toes, which is weird, or he kissed some teammate on the head, even if it was a playful kiss. To me, still weird, right? It's not because of that happening. That's what they're saying it is, but it's because they wanted him to get the surgery again, a second surgery. He said no, and they said, well, we don't want to pay anymore. With, let me add, a new regime in there, and John Spytek, and also Pete Carroll. So the fact is, the way that they get Christian Wilkins released, and, right, they could have found something, fabricated something, but the fact is, if that's true, that he was kissing another teammate on the head, Stu, there's a lot of embarrassing things to go on with the Raiders. This just adds this just puts another person in line embarrassment when it comes to your organization.
Yeah, and it's like every training camp, too. It was Devontae wanting out last year. It was Chandler Jones the year before, Antonio Brown a few years before that.
With the, what was it, the hyper, I could never say that word, the hyperacic chamber, I think,
the chamber,
right?
Yeah. So it's just something every year. Nothing really shocks me at this point. I'm kind of numb to it.
Yeah. Oh, my God, Stu. Your football team. No, at least you got Ashton Genty. At least you got Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
At least you got Max Crosby. But Christian Wilkins now cut from the Raiders because allegedly, according to Adam Schefter, the Shefty scoop is that he was kissing another grown man on the forehead. So, alrighty, Christian Wilkins. How about that? Alrighty, we will take a break. We'll come on back. We'll update you on some of the biggest stories of the world of sports with some audio. I don't think we have any more sexual content the rest of the show. I don't think that is the case. We talked about whatever that couple was doing at the Yankee Stadium. Then we talked about that caller and something happened to him in a bathroom, and then whatever Christian Wilkins was doing in the Raiders locker room. But we'll get to a news brief on the other side. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Deion Sanders' recent health issue turned out to be bladder cancer. He had surgery to remove his bladder and is considered now cancer-free. The 57-year-old has battled several health issues, but said this recent battle was certainly not going to keep him from the sidelines.
I always knew I was going to coach again. I never didn't realize I was going to coach again. I was always going to coach. It was never in my spirit, in my heart, that God wouldn't allow me to coach again. That's never thought like that.
Cortland Sutton, who's become a reliable target for Bo Nix, has received a 4-year extension from the Broncos worth $92 million. Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase has been placed on unpaid leave. He is the second Cleveland pitcher to be part of an investigation by Major League Baseball into gambling. The leave for the 3-time All-Star is through August 31st. The Cubs have given GM Jed Hoyer an extension, while the Tigers acquired veteran pitcher Chris Paddock from the Twins for a minor leaguer, with the trade deadline just 3 days away. In the meantime, there's a battle for sole possession of first place in the NL Central tonight, where the Brewers host the Cubs, with the two teams currently tied. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, we did find out earlier today at a press conference that Coach Prime this offseason had a cancerous tumor on his bladder. He is now cancer-free. This is Coach Prime on his diagnosis.
I'm thankful. It's been a tremendous journey. It's been tough. I think I dropped 25 pounds. I was like a Atlanta Falcon Prime at one point.
And then also, Coach Prime, did you tell Shador and Shiloh through this process?
My sons to this day don't know what transpired. I just told them something with my foot. Again, because I wanted them to focus on making the team and not focused on dad.
And then to just kind of give you a picture of how scary the situation was, Deion Sanders revealed that he had to make a will back in May.
Mentally, emotionally. Last night was tough. Yesterday was tough. Because I had to make a will. That's not easy at all to think that you may not be here.
And then also, Coach Prime, with all that you've gone through and still the road ahead, even though you're cancer-free, you have to rely more on your staff this year.
I don't have to rely on them. I'm back, baby. I'm back. I don't rely on them no more. I'm going to be with them. You know, the Bible says, remember the rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Okay, so we're going to comfort one another. And I love them. We have a wonderful staff, and thank God that they're good enough that I don't have to babysit. I don't have to be there every minute, too. And I know they got that.
So obviously, we're glad to hear that Coach Prime is cancer-free. I think that's the most important part first. Now, selfishly, from a football standpoint, this is great news to hear today that he is cancer-free, because when I woke up this morning and you see all the speculation and he has his press conference with his medical staff, that gives a very ominous feel And I thought we were maybe getting an announcement today, as we knew that Coach Prime was going through something off the field when it came to a health issue, that maybe he was going to take the season off or he was going to retire from coaching. And I look at this from a football standpoint only. I have a big question this year, and I'm a believer in Coach Prime. I said years ago that Auburn should have hired him over Hugh Freeze, but I'm very curious on how good of a coach Coach Prime could be this year without having Shedeur and without having Travis Hunter. And according to Coach Prime, he is a full go for this upcoming season. Alrighty, let's go to Stephen Jones. So the Cowboys are obviously going through their training camp practices in Oxnard, and the fans have been chanting, "Pay Micah." Here is Stephen Jones on the Pay Micah chants.
Did you hear the fans yelling "Pay Micah" yesterday? And what do you think when you hear that?
It doesn't change anything. I mean, we want to pay Micah too. He's got to want to be paid.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Seriously? Like, Stu, let's just use you for an example here. Let's say your contract was coming to an end with the company, right? And it's a public dispute. And I'm sitting on the air and I'm saying, hey, the company's got to take care of Stu. And then, I don't know, David Mayernick comes on out and says, hey, we obviously want to pay Stu, but Stu's got to want to get paid as well. Huh? Stu would be receiving the contract. He'd be receiving the money. I don't think Stu's saying, yep, I'm not giving you my routing number. You can't pay me. It's obviously whatever you are offering to an elite person like Micah Parsons, or the company would be offering to an elite person like a Stu Kovacs, isn't what he should be making. This is simple. Yes. Is Micah Parsons better than TJ Watt? No. Is Micah Parsons better than Myles Garrett? No. But Micah Parsons is a top 5 pure pass rusher. So when you're a top 5 pass rusher, you're going to get the top of the line money. You're going to reset the market. That's why waiting for Myles Garrett to figure out his deal, waiting for TJ Watt to figure out his deal, when you are Micah and you're younger than all of them, and the Cowboys know he's younger than all of them, and this is not just going to be a 3-year extension like what TJ Watt got, you're going to have to give him 4 or 5 years. And when it goes to 40 to then to 41, you're probably going to have to pay him $41.5 million, $42 million. So the waiting game here makes no sense. But before I freak out here and go all nuts, I know what the Cowboys do here. And I think Micah knows it as well. Whether it's Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, now Micah Parsons, they'll give you your money. We all know a deal's going to get done, but they're going to want you to do it their way. And it's almost to a point now that we all know the Cowboy game. And not only do we know the Cowboy game, they're trying to make Micah Parsons look like the victim here. And I'm not saying that the player can't be the victim here. Or they're trying to make themselves look like the victim, excuse me. And I'm not saying the organizations can never be the victim. Sometimes players ask for crazy things. But in this case, they're trying to make Micah look like the bad guy. Micah's not the bad guy here. He's just not. So this makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever. Let's go to Brian Callahan, the coach of the Tennessee Titans, on Cam Ward so far in camp.
There's a lot that goes on the quarterback's plate that they have to handle, and I think so far it's been pretty impressive with what he's been able to take from the meeting room to the classroom and apply it. And I think every time he goes out, he sees something new and makes an adjustment and gets better for it.
I will say, has there ever been a first overall pick that we've heard basically nothing about like Cam Ward? And what a great story. Incarnate Word, 0-star recruit, goes to Washington State and then transfers to Miami, is a finalist for the Heisman Trophy, #1 pick in the draft. He gets drafted, no one gave a rat's ass. It was like, okay, you got a big trade that ended up happening with the Browns and the Jaguars. Okay, understandable. And that's going to take a lot of thunder, but then it's all, where's Shedeur Sanders getting drafted? And he fell to the 5th round. And look, the last 2 years, we saw C.J. Stroud go 2nd overall. We saw Jaden Daniels go 2nd overall. And both of them turned around those organizations in their first season, taking them from the outhouse to sort of the penthouse by going to the playoffs. Wow. This name is on the news brief sheet, Jeff Ulbrich. I haven't heard about Jeff Ulbrich since the draft when his son was calling Shedeur Sanders and pranking Shedeur and telling him that he was getting drafted. So Jeff Ulbrich is now the defensive coordinator with the Atlanta Falcons. And I guess there's been some chippy and heated practices in the ATL. Here's Jeff Ulbrich.
Yeah, we're trying to develop a culture, a style of play for sure, and part of that is the violence which we play, and the aggression, the urgency, and all that. Today, at times, it went a little too far, and we got to learn how to manage that. You know, it's you're going to get agitated, and especially when you're playing really good defense, the offense is going to get very agitated. So you got to anticipate punches being thrown, things being said, people getting pushed, and in those moments, you got to thrive and not retaliate. And so it's a good lesson to be learned today.
I'm never wrong with a little kerfuffle in training camp. I never have a problem with that. I don't think anything's wrong with that. I think it's like the only thing that actually makes those practices, those monotonous practices, somewhat exciting. The running back on the Atlanta Falcons, who has joined us now twice. He played at Texas. Stu, how would you pronounce his first name?
Bijan.
Bijan, right? Samter, how would you pronounce his first name?
The way it's supposed to be pronounced, Bijan.
Right? Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, we've had him on multiple times, and he's... Yeah, Bijan.
Well, here's Bijan Robinson.
Properly give us the pronunciation of your name.
All right. How you pronounce my name is Bijan for everybody that's out there. I know a lot of people say Bijan, but it's Bijan. It's Bijan, yeah.
Bijan Robinson. Am I saying that correctly? Bijan Robinson. Do you think anyone's going to call him Bijan Robinson? It's kind of like, then we used to call him Tyrod Taylor, and then he's like, it's Tyrod. I'm like, okay. So it's not Bijan Robinson, it's Bijan. 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 Okay, that was courtesy of the NFL Network. Here's Aaron Rodgers, also courtesy of the NFL Network, on some critical comments that Terry Bradshaw had about him this offseason.
Well, I whisper to the guys every single day.
Damn right.
I've known Terry for a long time, being a part of Fox. Terry's a legend. He's an absolute legend. He won 4 Super Bowls. He's had a legendary career in the media. But Terry, like a lot of people, doesn't know me. And so he's got an idea of what he thinks about me based on what I've done, the documentary, what I've said, Darkness Retreat, whatever the hell you want to talk about. I'd love to get to know Terry on a deeper level. And I feel like if he gave me a chance to get to know him, that we'd have a good friendship, because for me, I have nothing but the utmost amount of respect and deference for what the greats have done, because they laid the foundation for us to be able to play in this great game, to be paid like kings, and to carry on the tradition of excellence. So I'd love to get to know Terry on a deeper level if he's open to it, and maybe we can go chew some bark or whatever the hell he's talking about together.
So there you go. Aaron Rodgers and Terry Bradshaw coming to a theater near you soon. Oh, that's creepy. That is creepy. Have you seen on Twitter or X that a lot of people have been tweeting Grok, and they're like, oh, who's the most famous person that has visited my profile? Did you see Bart Winkler's answer, anyone?
I did. I saw it.
It was Aaron Rodgers. And Bart does not like Aaron Rodgers. My answer was Tom Brady, my quarterback. That's my quarterback.
Mine's LeBron James. Go
Really?
figure. Yeah, according to Grok, I guess.
Wow. Let's go to Ichiro Suzuki. He did shade the one Hall of Fame voter who didn't vote for him.
Baseball taught me what it means to be a professional, and I believe that is the main reason I am here today. Not because my skills are better than others. 3,000 hits or 262 hits in one season are achievements recognized by the writers. Well, all but one view.
It's a good job there by Ichiro Suzuki, because I don't get how you didn't vote that guy. If you had a ballot, how you didn't put him on your ballot. And there's always people that do stupid things, whether it's for attention or you're claiming that, oh, you needed to vote for someone else and you knew that he was going to get in. Whatever the reason was, he needed to be checked off on everybody's ballot. But it is what it is. And some people say, oh, this player was never unanimous. I can't make anybody unanimous. Just silly, 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 silly. Brian Howell covers the Colorado football team. He'll join us next to talk about Coach Prime and the rest of the upcoming season for the Colorado Buffaloes.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Hour number 3 of our radio program. That's right. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. The biggest story of the day is the news that we got earlier in the day when it was revealed as Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, did a press conference along with his medical staff that Coach had a cancerous tumor on his bladder at some point in this offseason. But now we were happy to hear that he is cancer-free. So the Colorado Buffaloes get set to kick off their season in about a month against Georgia Tech. And we got some answers as to some of the ambiguity surrounding what was clearly a serious health situation this offseason with the head coach at Colorado, who's done a wonderful job. And that, of course, is Coach Prime in Deion Sanders. Brian Howell does a great job covering the football team for Buff Zone, and he's kind enough to join us right now. Brian, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this. How you been?
I've been good. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. I'll tell you, this morning when I saw that there was a press conference and the medical staff was going to be there and everyone's running rampant online speculating, and we knew that something was going on with Coach Prime this offseason, I was assuming the worst, quite frankly, and I was wondering if Coach Prime was either going to be the coach this year at Colorado, if he was going to be able to do that. When you heard the news today and it was kind of laid out to everyone at the press conference, just how did you kind of process it and react to it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's always scary when you hear the word cancer, and I didn't know what it was. Very few people did, and Coach Prime talked about it, that his team was very good at keeping it quiet. He said he didn't even tell his team or his assistant coaches, and wasn't even telling Shedeur and Shiloh because he wanted them to focus on where they are with their NFL teams. And so, but I just in talking to people, I never got the sense that he was not going to coach. It was always, yeah, he's doing better. And obviously when you see a press conference with the medical team, it's something serious, but I never got the sense that he wouldn't be able to coach.
Yeah, and I will say, I know this is a little different, obviously, because if you don't have your health, then clearly you don't have anything, and it's weird to just transition, right away, just the football matters. But it's a little bit bizarre how, obsessed people are to try to get Coach Prime out of Colorado. I know he just signed that extension that, technically keeps him there through 2029, but it always seems as if every month there's always a story about maybe what is Coach Prime's next stop.
Yeah, this has been going on for 2+ years now, and before he even coached the game, there was, national people to talk about, oh, he'd be great at Florida State, he'd be great at Alabama, he'd be great in the NFL, whatever. It's like, well, let's see him coach in Colorado first, So everybody's always trying to get him out of here, but he expresses it so often that you have to believe him. I mean, he loves it in Colorado. I think that he feels very blessed with how he's been treated at Colorado and how they've really been by his side through ups and downs.
And obviously he took over a program that had one win. The first year they got off to that 3-0 start. They became the epicenter for at least September of the college football world. And we know they finished that season with 4 wins total. Last year they ended up getting 9 wins, had a Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter. Shedeur had an unbelievable season. But now the big question is, what does kind of life look like in Boulder, Colorado, with Travis Hunter no longer being there, with Shedeur Sanders no longer being there? What are kind of your expectations, Brian Howell, for this upcoming season for Colorado?
Yeah, it's going to be very different. It's hard to have expectations because there's so much new, and all we've seen is Shedeur at quarterback. And, as great as Travis Hunter was, and he was the best college football player I've seen in 25 years, Shedeur is a bigger loss because I think when you have that quarterback that was as good as him. He was the best quarterback CU's ever had, and he saved them a lot of times. And, he had some magical moments, things like that. You don't have that anymore, but they've got really good players. And so there's a lot of guys that have to step up that we haven't really seen before or have not seen in Boulder before. So it's hard to know the expectations, but they believe they're going to be pretty good.
What's your gut tell you right now when it comes to Caden Salter coming over from Liberty, and then obviously Julian Lewis, the big recruit? What does your gut tell you about who's starting up against Georgia Tech?
I think it's going to be Salter just because he's got the experience and, he's been there before. I mean, Julian Lewis is extremely talented, but he's 17 years old. He doesn't turn 18 until, I think, 5 weeks into the season. He should be a senior in high school this year because he graduated a year and a half early. Very young, extremely talented. I think he's going to be a phenomenal college quarterback, but I think this year is going to be Caden Salter's year. I expect him to be that bridge quarterback between Shedeur and Juju.
And then also, when you get to Coach Prime, from a football standpoint, obviously this is a serious story today, and it's great to hear that he's cancer-free. But even before today, and that's one of the biggest questions in college football, now with Travis and now with Shedeur no longer there. I would argue, I think this is the most important year for Coach Prime at Colorado, because if they don't make a bowl game, then some people are going to sit there and they're going to say, hey, it was really just Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders why they were able to have that really good, successful season a season ago.
Yeah, no question. I think even if they're 7-5 and make a bowl game, I think people will say that. There's always going to be some expectations on him. I think they're better where they need to be, and that's the trenches. And I think that's going to be a big deal for this year's team. And frankly, I know this is too low of a bar for Coach Prime, but if they get to a bowl game, that's a huge deal for this program. I mean, the last time they went to back-to-back bowl games, Gary Barnett was the head coach over 20 years ago. So it's been a long time since they've even gone to back-to-back bowls. If he can get this team to a bowl game, no matter which one it is, I personally think that's a really good accomplishment.
How would you describe this transformation and everything that happened the last 2 years since you've been covering the team for such a long time?
Well, it's been incredible, obviously, to cover a team in 2022 that was the absolute worst Power 5 program in the country. And I don't think it was close. I mean, I always tell people they were 1-11 and not as good as their record because they barely won that one game in overtime. They were terrible. And to go from that to all of a sudden, a few months later, that spring game was sold out. And there was never even 1,000 people that would show up for free to the spring game. And then that next year, obviously, it didn't go as well as they wanted, but every game was exciting. And all of a sudden, it was like, wow, there's some good football being played here. This is really nice. So it's been quite a change, and I don't expect a drop-off anywhere near like what they were before Coach Prime got here. I think they're, at worst, better than they were in 2023, when they were 4-8 with Shedeur and Travis.
And obviously, right, we could see from afar. We know what Shedeur did. We know what Travis did. We saw the player development from year 1 to year 2, the way that they improved, the 9 wins. But you being there and following on an everyday basis, like what is something, and I know this may be a difficult question because I feel like everything gets shown with what's going on with Coach Prime's program, but what has been something that maybe the average fan or the outsider doesn't get to see in what really has happened the last 2 years that has thoroughly impressed you?
Well, honestly, I think that people don't understand how normal it is here. That people think there's a circus going on in Boulder, with Coach Prime and everything, because you see, Shedeur flashing the watch, and you see Travis, and you see Lil Wayne rapping in the end zone and things like that. But it's pretty normal. I mean, they run a football program here, and they're football coaches, and Coach Prime is old school, and he's made a significant impact on a lot of the young people he's mentoring, not only the players, but a lot of the young women that are in his program as well. And so I think people would be surprised how normal it feels day to day in Boulder.
And I also have to imagine just individually for Coach Prime, even before, right, we get the news and everything that happened this offseason and how that could change someone's life. But we all know, right, how close he is with Travis. We all know, obviously, Shedeur, is his son. But now not having them there at the program, and this has got to be a big motivational year personally for Coach Prime. And, it's going to be just fascinating to see how he navigates it and kind of how he uses that as one of the great motivators that we've seen in this sport.
Yeah, no question. I mean, this is one of the most confident and competitive men that's ever been in sports. And, I think that he hasn't said it, but I would guess he's driven to prove people he can coach without Travis and Shedeur and Shiloh. And he hasn't done that before. I mean, obviously without Travis he has, but Shedeur's been the starting quarterback for every team he's ever coached. And so this is something new. I think that he's out to prove that he can coach.
He is Brian Howell. Make sure you catch him out, writer for Buff Zone. Brian, we appreciate you jumping on board with us for a few minutes today.
Thank you.
There you go. Brian Howell joining us on the show. Obviously, the good news today is that you find out that Coach Prime is cancer-free. Little did we know that he had a cancerous tumor on his bladder. And, we found that out today in addition to the fact that he is cancer-free. So that's the latest on the Colorado football team. And I'll tell you, it's probably not the right day to have this conversation just with the news. But you look at Coach Prime, and I'm not saying, right, that he is going to be coaching Colorado through 2029. I'm not. Obviously he needs his health to be there, and he talked about how he had more surgeries in the last 2 years than while he was playing during his entire career. And that's something to me that I do wonder here. When does Coach Prime get satisfied? And when you hear that he had cancer and right now that he's cancer-free, whether you like the guy or you don't like the guy, and I happen, full disclosure, to be a fan, you want him to be able to decide when he walks away from the game. You don't want that decision to be made for him because of a poor health situation. So I look at Coach Prime, and I know people get caught up in, is he going to the NFL? I know he's entertained it. I know he's kind of let those reports run rampant when the Cowboys job was open. But I do take his word where he was saying he doesn't feel like his message would be well received by the players in the locker room in the NFL. He doesn't think that is his calling to be an NFL coach. Now, he has since revised that the only way he would do it is if he's coaching not just Shedeur, but also Shiloh. I think all the chances of Shedeur and Shiloh being on the same team and being coached by Dad are really slim to none when also Shedeur fell to the 5th round. Like if Shedeur was taken 2 overall, 2nd overall by the Browns, a little bit of a different story there, right? Stefanski has a bad year, then everyone's sitting there and calling for Coach Prime to take over for Shedeur and bring that Colorado Magic to the NFL. But now, I don't believe, especially the message, however you want to interpret it, that the NFL sent to Shedeur, where Shedeur did not go through the process the right way. But for him to fall to the 5th round, I thought was comical. For a kid that we were legitimately talking about going 2nd overall, and sometimes, hey, we miss. But for him to fall out of the 1st round is one thing. For him to fall out of the 2nd round, that to me is the ridiculous part. For him to fall all the way out of the 3rd, the 4th, and then land in the 5th to a place in Cleveland where I know Kenny Pickett has the hamstring injury right now. You got Joe Flacco there. You got Dylan Gabriel going in the 3rd. It was bizarre. It was weird. Just didn't feel right. But there's a lot of theories on why that happened, and some people think that was the NFL sending a message not only to Shedeur, but also Coach Prime. So when Shedeur fell to the 5th, and also you have a league right now where basically Robert Kraft is preventing Bill Belichick from getting a job in the NFL, a head coaching job. And you have a lot of these teams afraid to hire Bill. If they're afraid to hire Bill, who is like anti having any attention on him, do you think an NFL team, one of the 32 owners, just one of them, that's all you need, is going to hire Coach Prime? Probably not. I would say no. So then the question becomes, what are the aspirations of Coach Prime in college? And when does he get satisfied? When does he feel like he accomplished something? Some could argue that's already happened, right? You go to Colorado, 1 win that you took over. They get 4 in the first year, even though it was disappointing after starting off the year 3-0. And the second year they get 9. You have a Heisman Trophy winner. You had your son play great in college. A lot of people would be like, all right, that's good for me. Right? Because not like Coach Prime has to do this. Let's be real. He don't need the money. But I do believe there's an intense personal motivation for Coach Prime this year. And this is even before the health scare. To prove that obviously he could still coach his ass off in college, even without his son at quarterback and also Travis Hunter playing both ways. I do believe that is what fuels the fire of Coach Prime. Now, with that being said, if they go 8 wins this year, if they make a bowl game this year, honestly, all Coach Prime, in my opinion, has to do this year, for me, I can't speak for everyone, this is just me, for me to say, okay, I'm satisfied with what he did, if they go 6-6 and make a bowl game, with all that they lost, and the 2 stars that they lost, I don't think you could sit there and have a negative word to say about Coach Prime. I really don't, folks. So this year, I think just going 6-6 wouldn't be like, okay, I'm good, I'm done. But if you look at the way that this is kind of being set up, where it's going to be Caden Salter, we think this year, according to what Brian just said with us, and then you hand that baton over to Juju. Once Juju finishes his career at Colorado, that's when I think the legitimate conversations start on Coach Prime either taking another job somewhere else or Coach Prime then walking away from Colorado. But I kind of see him sticking around longer than what people think. But that always ends up being the conversation. So good stuff right there with Brian Howell, Colorado writer for the Buff Zone. Appreciate him jumping on board with us. It is a Monday. We will take a timeout when we come on back. Stu's got some questions for me. I'll try to give him some answers. We call that segment Onside Offside. We get to it in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, onside, offside time on a Monday. Stu, what do we got cooking?
All right, Zach. So Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins have had a rocky offseason after Hill's comments at the end of the season. Well, last week, Tua admitted that it will take time to rebuild that trust with the 31-year-old star wideout, prompting some to believe that Jalen Waddle will be Tua's new favorite target, although Waddle isn't quite buying it.
I wouldn't say that. I think Tua just playing what he sees, trying my best to get open throughout the routes. He's seen me try to hit me. Like I said, we got a lot of weapons, not just focus on me. Defense got to defend Reek, Devon, Waller, Juju, Nick. I can keep going on and on. Malik, we got a whole bunch of weapons.
All right, onside, offsides. Jalen Waddle will be the Dolphins' best receiver in 2025.
So last year, Tyreek wasn't 100%. And I know that Jalen Waddle missed some games. And I like Jalen Waddle a lot. But last year, Jalen Waddle had 58 receptions. Tyreek had 81. Last year, Jalen Waddle had 744 yards. Tyreek had 959. 2 touchdowns for Jalen Waddle, 6 for Tyreek Hill. So it's one thing for Tua Tagovailoa, which I think he was right, to basically make it clear, yeah, the trust still isn't there for Tyreek. He has to earn it back. And there's another thing for me to think, okay, Jalen Waddle could go back to what he was before last season. But still, Tyreek had a down year, even though I think Tyreek will end up being a clown and he'll do something that will hurt the football team. As long as Tyreek is there, I still believe at the end of the year his statistics will be better than Jalen Waddle. So Jalen Waddle will be the Dolphins' best receiver in 2025. I'm going offside.
Offside.
The Rams are on the short list to come out of the NFC thanks to some young stars on defense, a great receiving duo in Puka and Devontae, and of course, Matthew Stafford. However, despite hopes that Stafford would be fully healthy for training camp, head coach Sean McVay gave a somewhat concerning update on when Stafford might return to action.
The ultimate goal is Houston and being mindful of that, so we'll take it a week at a time with him. So I did want to be able to let you guys know about that based on sitting down with Reggie and with Matthew and talking with Dr. Watkins. Feel like that's the smart thing to do, a week at a time with him.
So you don't anticipate that he will practice at all next week?
No, do not anticipate that.
Onside, offsides. If Stafford has to miss regular season games, the Rams should bring in another quarterback rather than sticking with Jimmy G.
I don't think this is a big deal. I'm going to be honest. I think it was last year, too. This time last year, people are wondering about the health of Matthew Stafford. This is an older quarterback. All right, is his back 100% right now? No. But come the start of the season, I think he's going to be fine. Let's be real here, too. If they don't have Matthew Stafford this year, who's the option that they're going to get to go replace him right now? Like, all right, you want to tell me Kirk Cousins? That's only going to happen, though, financially, if Matthew Stafford's out for the year. Matthew Stafford's not out for the year. You're going to bring, in Carson Wentz again? I don't need to do that. Jimmy G is a backup. If Jimmy G has to play 6, 7, 8 games, do I feel great about it? No. He is in a really good situation, though, where you got Cooper. You don't have Cooper Kupp. You got Devontae Adams. You got Puka Nacua. You got Kyron Williams. That's a decent spot. But I don't think there's a name out there right now as, that you could just go in just to get as a number 2 quarterback, where I'm sitting there saying ooh and ah. Jimmy G is a fine backup quarterback. So you asked me if Stafford has to miss regular season games, or Rams should bring in another QB rather than sticking with Jimmy G. Depends how many games. Like if Stafford's out for the season, sure, go get Kirk Cousins. But if it's just 3-4 games, no, you're going to rock and roll with Jimmy G. So that's how I'm going to answer that question, assuming it's only for a few games. So I would go offside.
Offside.
There appears to be a rift growing between Micah Parsons and the Cowboys after some back and forth public comments. Now, Jerry threw a little more fuel onto the fire when asked about the pay Micah chance at practice, saying, quote, "I heard it light, but not compared to how I heard them say pay Lamb last year."
Oh, boy.
It was a little faint sound compared to the way they were hollering last year, pay Lamb, end of quote. On to all sides, CeeDee Lamb is more important to the Cowboys' success than Micah Parsons.
I'm actually going to go onside here. And it's because this is a passing league now. And the preeminent target, the number 1 target for the Cowboys is CeeDee Lamb. Now, I know, right, if Lamb has to miss some time, then you do have George Pickens, who is a very good number 2 wide receiver. And if Micah Parsons has to miss some time, there's not a lot there on the Cowboys defense. But Lamb, I would say CeeDee Lamb, would you say he's the 3rd best receiver in the NFL right now? Either 3rd or 4th. I'd probably say 3. At worst, 4. So kind of in the same boat as Micah Parsons, where he's not 1 or 2, but he's 3 or 4 in terms of pass rushers. And I just think there's more of an importance in throwing the football now in the NFL. Obviously, you still have to get to the quarterback. But I would say that CeeDee Lamb is more important to the Cowboys' success than Micah Parsons. Yeah, I would say that on sides.
The Browns have a logjam at quarterback, though Kenny Pickett has received most of the first team snaps so far in camp, while Shedeur Sanders hasn't seen any. However, Pickett has reportedly suffered a hamstring injury and will be reevaluated later this week.
Before you continue this, is there a quarterback competition that we thought we were going to care a lot about that I just give 2 bleeps about more than the Cleveland Browns? Because we know that Dillon Gabriel nor Shedeur Sanders are going to be starting come week 1. So does anyone actually care if it's, besides Chris in California, if it's Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco starting? I don't. It's almost wake me up when we find out that there's a decision to be made. Do they have to go with Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders? But sorry to cut you off there, Stu.
All right, onside, offsides. Barring injury, Kenny Pickett will be the Browns' week 1 starter.
I'm going to say it's still Joe Flacco. I do not think it's going to be Kenny Pickett, so I'm going to go offside there.
Offside.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Chris in California. About to chew me out right now.
All right, sticking in the AFC North, this Shamar Stewart saga is over as the first-round pick finally agreed to terms with the Bengals after an ugly public negotiation. However, now the Bengals still have to figure out another nasty public conflict with pass rusher Trey Hendrickson. Onside, offsides, you blame the Bengals for both the Shamar Stewart and Trey Hendrickson situations.
Trey Hendrickson, absolutely, positively, yes. I'm just going to tell you something about Shamar Stewart that I think most talk show hosts are afraid to say those words. I don't know. I don't know if the Bengals are right or if Shamar Stewart is right. With that being said, I know for a fact they are screwing over Trey Hendrickson with this dopey policy, how they only want to give him guaranteed money in the first year of the contract. That is ridiculous. That is absurd. So what are the Bengals? They're a cheap organization. That's what the Bengals are. So if you put a gun to my head, who's more at fault? Is it Shamar Stewart or is it the Bengals? I'm going to say it's the Bengals. I may not be right on that, but the question here is you blame the Bengals for both the Shamar Stewart and Trey Hendrickson situation. Shamar, I don't know. Trey Hendrickson, absolutely. But I'm not giving the Bengals the benefit of the doubt here on either. So I'm going to say on sides. Yeah, I blame the Cincinnati Bengals.
After winning the ACC and making the college football playoffs last year, Clemson is considered a national title contender again this year and opened their season with a tough opponent in the SEC powerhouse LSU. Of course, both schools call their home Death Valley, and last week LSU head coach Brian Kelly threw some shade at Clemson.
Battle of the Tigers.
Want great habits when they're needed. When you're on the road and you're playing in Death Valley Junior, not the Death Valley.
He's so cheesy.
Now Clemson star TJ Parker said, quote,
Does he always just speak now in gimmicks?
yeah, it sounds like it.
I saw some video, I wish I sent it to you guys over the weekend, where it was someone talking about the difference between Marcus Freeman and Brian Kelly. Did you see this at all, Steve?
I didn't see it. I wish I did, though.
Oh, and it was, I forget who it was, but someone was talking the differences, and he goes Marcus Freeman actually calls the recruits. Brian, they could have landed some recruits, and Brian Kelly goes, I'm the coach of Notre Dame. Why do I have to sell the kid on going to Notre Dame? Maybe because Alabama's competing up against you. Maybe Georgia's competing up against you. And then also, there was something else in the video when Tommy Rees was named the offensive coordinator. At least this is the way I was remembering the video. There were other big-name candidates that wanted the job. They were more qualified than Tommy Rees. But Brian Kelly only wanted to give the job really to Tommy Rees, according to the person they were interviewing. I'm sorry, I forget who it was. Because Brian Kelly could control Tommy Rees, but he couldn't control, I think Monken was someone else. And there was one other name that's escaping my memory right now. But anyway, was there a question here on this?
Yeah, so you talked about Kelly.
I just hear Brian Kelly's voice that annoys me these days.
I get
with
it.
His Tiger family, with this fake accent.
So now Clemson star TJ Parker said, quote, they can have their opinion. We're going to handle all that on August 30th, end quote. And Dabo also pointed to the fact that Clemson started the moniker back in 1948, 11 years before LSU did.
I think if you just Google Coach McMillan, who was the head coach at PC, you can go and do that research on your own. But, all that matters is how we handle our business in Clemson, South Carolina on August 30th. So that's our focus. But that stuff is historical facts. So I'll let you do the research on that.
All right, onside, offsides. Clemson is the real Death Valley.
All right, let's just go around the room here. When you hear Death Valley, do you think of Clemson or LSU first? Stu?
I think LSU.
Samter?
Clemson.
Ack?
Clemson. But that's because I'm older.
Okay. I think LSU first. Maybe that's because I'm younger. So I will be rooting for Clemson over LSU. In a weird spot now, I'm rooting for Clemson. Brian Kelly creeps me out, if I'm just being honest. Clemson is the real Death Valley. I'm going to go offside and say it's LSU.
Offside.
I wonder what the poll, if we made that a poll question, I wonder what most people would end up going with there.
I'll put that up.
Just out of curiosity. Maybe a little bit too late in the show. You know what? Put it up from the INF sports page for the Twitter account. I'm curious what people are going to have to say. Maybe we'll take a look back at it tomorrow. All righty, next one.
All right, yesterday Cooperstown inducted a few more new members into the Hall of Fame, including CeCe Sabathia, Billy Wagner, and Ichiro. Now, the former Japanese star in Ichiro finished his 19-year career with nearly 3,100 hits, but didn't join the majors until he was 27 and already had 9 seasons and 1,300 hits in Japan. Onside to offsides, Ichiro would have been just the third player to surpass 4,000 hits if he played his entire career in the majors.
I think this is onsides. 9 years he was in Japan? 9 years. So do I think that he would have got to 4,000 if you just had those 9 years in America when he got 3,100 hits before those 9 years in Japan? Yeah, I do. So I would go onsides there.
All right, Aaron Judge was a virtual lock for the AL MVP, and it was having a historic season for the Yankees, chasing a triple crown. However, last week, Judge was seen grimacing and throwing a ball from right field and is now on the injured list with a right flexor strain. However, the Yankees said moving Judge to first base to avoid a more serious arm issue is not on the table, at least for this year. Onside offsides, the Yankees should keep Judge at either first or DH the rest of the season.
If it was first, I would say no. But since it says either, then DH, absolutely. So the Yankees should keep Judge at either first or DH the rest of the season. Yes, and it's because of the latter on the DH part, so I would go onside.
All right, this weekend, Nikola Jokic's agent, Misko Rasnatovic, posted...
Say that 30 times fast.
He posted an image with himself, LeBron, and Maverick Carter on a yacht in France with the caption, "The summer of 2025 is the perfect time to make plans for the fall of 2026. Onside to offsides, you could see LeBron and Jokic playing together in 2026.
I kind of think it's pointless to have them play together. Because what is Nikola Jokic so great at? Passing. LeBron is also a tremendous passer as well. Like I would rather see Nikola Jokic and Steph Curry if I wanted to go two big stars play together rather than LeBron and Nikola Jokic. I think the style of play, is just a little bit too similar. So I could see LeBron and Jokic playing together in 2026. I'm going to go offside.
Offside.
All right, last one here. Happy Gilmore 2 debuted on Netflix on Friday to some mixed reviews. Some hated the big plot twist at the very beginning and the plethora of celebrity cameos like Bad Bunny, Travis Kelce, Reggie Bush, Paige Spiranac, and Eminem, and multiple pro golfers. However, the film
I'm going to be completely transparent. I didn't have any clue that Reggie Bush was in the movie until I saw a TikTok about it. And I watched the entirety of the movie. I just didn't know that was Reggie Bush in the on the rival team to Happy Gilmore's team, and it was kind of like a spin-off of Live Golf, I guess, up against the PGA Tour if they ever went up against one another. But I didn't know that was Reggie Bush until I ended up seeing that on a TikTok of all the celebrities that had cameos in that movie.
Well, the film got a respectable 71% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Samter says that he loved it. Hindsight's all sides. Happy Gilmore 2 was as good or better than you hoped.
So I didn't know what to expect, because usually when they make a sequel, it seems like it's pointless and it was unnecessary. In this case, I said, let this just be nostalgic and fun. That was my main grading criteria. Was it nostalgic and was it fun? Nostalgic, absolutely. Fun, absolutely. I loved Happy Gilmore 2. I thought I would just like it. I thought I would just mildly enjoy it. I loved it. Friday when I was off, I said, you know what? I'm not waiting any longer. 2 hours. I watched the movie, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it. I thought Adam Sandler did an incredible job. The Vern Lundquist, Scotty Scheffler stuff was gold. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's the most personality we've ever seen from Scotty Scheffler. He pokes fun at his arrests. Chubbs' son, I say that in air quotes, right? Having a role. It was great. Boban Marjanovic being the character that was like the big freakazoid all those years ago that had the ball land on his foot and the nail in his head, I thought was great. This movie, could you say like, oh, we didn't need Happy Gilmore 2? Sure. But I thought for going through with this in a sequel of something that's a comedy, it was nostalgic and it was fun. And that's why when you asked me, Happy Gilmore 2 was as good or better than you hoped, absolutely on sides. I think if you didn't like it, A, your expectations are too high, or B, you're just a miserable SOB. And you just can't have fun. I don't get how someone watches that, and even if you didn't love it, they just don't laugh and they go, okay, that was funny. Like, okay, that was good. I'm not saying you need this to win an award. Well, let's not go nuts. Let's not get delirious. But it was very enjoyable. Samter?
I agree, and not only that, I thought it was actually, it's not better than the first one, but it's as close to the first one as any comedy sequels I've seen in a long time. It was actually really good. I thought the cameos, while they were excessive...
And the writing was brilliant.
Yeah, and the cameos, while they were excessive, like, they were all good. Like, Xander Schauffele and Colin Morikawa were hilarious, right? Travis Kelce, I thought was really good. Bad Bunny, I thought was great. Paige Spiranac, in her small role, I thought was still good. Like, all of the... Eminem was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, they shoved all these different things down your face, but not in a way that made it feel forced. They were all important characters who helped advance the story, and they were funny, and they were interesting. Rory, I thought, was pretty rough. Rory McIlroy did not have a great showing of just funniness.
He's got a personality of a fish out of water.
Yeah, but, a lot of these guys we thought did, but a lot of them ended up having, like, really interesting personalities. Xander Schauffele, who knew?
I think the biggest winner here was Scotty Scheffler.
Huge.
Scotty Scheffler was a huge winner in this.
Absolutely.
And it actually made me see a personality to Scotty Scheffler. And Vern Lundquist, he was incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I do got a question, though, Samter. Now, I'm not here. So if I was here, maybe it's a little different of a conversation. You were live tweeting about the movie during the show on Friday when I wasn't here. Were you watching during the show in between commercial breaks? What was going on there?
I watched about 60% before the show, like on the train ride in, a little bit in the morning. And then, during commercial breaks, I would watch like another 3 or 4 minutes here or there.
Only during commercial breaks?
Yeah,
like
no,
Gresh
no.
is spewing some take that you didn't care about and you just were like, Gresh is making fun of our 540 rejoin, and you're like, you know what? I'll go back to Happy Gilmore.
No, I would watch in the breaks.
Quite frankly,
and then
I wouldn't blame you if you did.
No. Me, and honestly, Gresh likes to go to me a lot, so there's no way I'd be able to watch during the segment. I was tweeting maybe a little bit during the segments, but I was only watching during breaks, and then I finished the movie the last like half hour, 45 minutes on the train ride home.
I don't have a Gresh impression. I don't. But he was like, hey, Santa! And Santa just was just not there. Hey, I'm watching Bad Bunny and Happy Gilmore too.
I will say I was a little bit disappointed in Gresh. He said he has no interest in seeing the movie.
Let me tell you. I'm going to pull Stephen A. Smith here. I love Gresh, but Gresh sounds like a miserable human being. Doesn't like the Backstreet Boys rejoin with Zach is back all right. Has no intentions to watch Happy Gilmore too. Can Andy Gresh live a little bit? I want to make Andy Gresh fun again. I grew up listening to Andy Gresh. I like Andy Gresh. In his older age, he seems like one miserable. And I mean miserable son of a bitch. Seriously.
He's got a nice golden retriever he hangs out with, his wife. He's got a family. He's a happy guy.
Okay.
Happy guy. Talk radio is negative by and large.
I know, but can he just be a little bit fun?
I got to stick up for him.
Because are you an old man yelling at the lawn? At the clouds on the lawn?
No. I haven't seen it, but I would be open to it. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I was at the premiere for Grown Ups.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm dropping names out of your pocket.
I'm not dropping names. I'm just saying I was there. That's all. I like the Adam Sandler movies.
You went to the premiere? You got invited to the premiere?
Yeah.
Oh, how'd that go about?
Well, that's another story for another day. You don't want me to name drop. It wasn't like I'm buddies with Adam Sandler. I did go to college at the same time he was there, but that's the extent of it. But
you guys went to the same college?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
My friends used to shut down his parties.
Oh, wow. They were ratted him out?
No.
Is that why?
No. They were like the dorm assistant. You had to, noise complaints.
Oh, so Sandler was a big partier in college.
I wouldn't say he was a big partier. He had parties that were always very good. But Sal was at the premiere. That does, it doesn't mean just because you're at the premiere doesn't mean you.
The premiere this go around? Happy Gilmore 2?
No. Big Daddy, not Big Daddy. Grown Ups, the first one.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Going to the premieres, kissing babies.
There you go.
Signing autographs.
Sometimes you
on the red carpet.
Gotta go above and beyond,
Yeah. Okay. Hey, you're not miserable. Andy Gresh is miserable. That's what I learned in this.
Nah.
And you're like his lawyer.
It's a facade.
I don't know. I think we gotta have Gresh on, and we just gotta make him go to his happy place.
He's got
That's what we need
maybe
to
he's
do.
got a little unclenchable. Here's my deal, Zach. Okay. Okay. I'm a large human being. Okay. And I see this, and.
A little Marva's coming out there too.
No,
I think Gresh is just annoyed that Marash lost some weight. That's maybe why some.
He's a full fat guy. Like if you're fat, you're in it.
I wasn't expecting you to have a great Gresh impression.
I try. It's not. I don't think it's that good, but it's you get the idea.
Town, yes.
Yeah, there you go. Hurts my voice to do that.
All right, well, let's get the latest update in with Andy Gresh's lawyer, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Colorado coach Deion Sanders revealed he underwent surgery to have his bladder removed because of cancer. The 57-year-old said he is now cancer-free following the procedure. A Hall of Famer happy to have this behind him and said one of the more difficult things was he had to stay away from his team.
Couldn't come around my team, and I wanted to be here with my team. I wanted to see the new talent that we brought in. I wanted to see them work, see them train, coach them, and I couldn't. But slowly but surely, I built myself back up to where I'm able, I'm strong, I'm ready.
Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase was a highly rumored name on the trade market, but those discussions are now likely on hold as the Guardians closer is on unpaid leave through the end of August as he's under investigation into gambling. The second Guardians pitcher to be put on leave for that reason. The Twins today send pitcher Chris Paddock to the Tigers for a minor league prospect. The Cubs have given GM Jed Hoyer a multi-year extension as they open the day tied with the Brewers for the lead in the NL Central, and those two teams meeting tonight. The Royals' Chris Bubich will miss the remainder of the season with a rotator cuff injury. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. We're from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God. We're back
Stu,
again.
your dreadful baseball team, the New York Yankees, play the Tampa Bay Rays tonight at the big ballpark in the Bronx. Do you have any idea who's on the field pregame with Aaron Judge?
I did see this tweet about maybe a half hour ago, so I do know who it is.
Luka Doncic. Now, I saw a video over the weekend of Luka looking really thin. In this video, he's looking trim. This could be a big year for the new face of the Lakers.
Can he play right
Luka
field and
Doncic.
hit a baseball first?
Can he throw a baseball, I guess, is the big question. That's the big one these days. But that is the Yankees stink right now. And you want to go into a game there? And I went Saturday. Yeah, I get it. The team was down, but very negative there. That fan base, they want Aaron Boone gone. Or do you want Aaron Boone gone?
I don't. I don't think. I don't think this is his fault, but he'll probably be the one that gets. He'll be the one that gets criticized and probably fired eventually for this.
Okay, it's time to ask the pros. And that is time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Randy in Alabama says, Zach, do you see Nick Saban returning to coach college? You could submit a question by tweeting at INF SportsCenter or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here is Nick Saban on Fox News. Would he ever return to coaching after some reports a few weeks ago?
I never really ever had a thought about getting back into coaching until 2 days ago. Miss Terry said I had to run the sweeper in the entire downstairs. So while I was running the sweeper, the thought occurred to me, you know, when you were coaching, you had a heck of a lot better job than this.
So is the door shut, though, Coach, on you returning?
There is no opportunity that I know of right now that I would enhance me to go back to coaching. I enjoy what I'm doing. I did it for 50 years. I loved it. I love the relationship with the players. I love the competition. But, you know, it's another station of life now, and I enjoy what I'm doing right now and want to continue to do it, spend more time with my family, my grandchildren, my children, and it's been really, really good.
So him saying no for now, there's no opportunity for now that I know of, makes my antenna go up. I don't think he's coaching college ever again. I think if he does return to coaching, it would be for the NFL. My advice to Coach Saban, stay home. Stay on the desk of college game day for ESPN. That's all you need to do. Your legacy is great. If you're going to go back to coach the NFL, but it does seem pointless at this stage of your life, and enjoy this life that you've built and actually enjoy your next 20, 25 years that you have left. I don't think he needs to coach again. That's just me. All righty, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Kevin Jennings of the SMU football team, their quarterback's going to join us. Also, the head football coach at Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, will join us as well. We'll talk tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining.